see all of you online today, whether you're joining us in person or online. I'm Michael Kyer with the OUUC tech team. I use he, him pronouns. Welcome to all who are joining us on whatever platform you are using. This Zoom service is being recorded and it is being streamed live to YouTube. We use the Zoom chat feature for greetings, song lyrics, affirmations, and applause, and the items shared from the heart. The chat is not posted or shared publicly. If you are online and experience any technical difficulties during the service, you can reach out to Joe Celine or another member of the tech team for assistance when the chat is on. Last, I hope you'll find a candle or a chalice. In a moment, we can light them together. Thank you for your grace and adaptability. As we all remember, it's about connection, not perfection.
Good morning. Let's sing together. We're going to start with hymn number 170 out of the gray hymnal, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. The lyrics are also found in the chat. And just going to remind you that Holly Near recently made a change to the lyrics in the hymn, and the fourth verse now reads, We are all in this together. So if you're at home singing by yourself and you sing the wrong lyric, no one will know but you. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a just a sinking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a just a sinking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing for our lives. Yes, we are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing for our lives. Thank you for singing.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation online worship service. We welcome each of you to this celebration of love and to our congregation. The OUUC community unites in the mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. We're so glad you are here. My name is Ann Colbury. I prefer she, her, or they, their pronouns, and I am a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Sarah Lewis, the Director of Community and Faith Development. We are grateful for all who helped create this worship service today. Heartfelt thanks to this week's breakout room hosts, our skilled tech team, and all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, we invite you to join a virtual coffee chat in a breakout room to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. This will be a chance to gather with a small group to say hello and check in. Each breakout room will be hosted by someone to ensure everyone knows each other and has a chance to share. This week's online Thursday spiritual practice will be hosted by Sarah Lewis, who will offer a time for quiet contemplation. This is a chance to slow down and catch up with yourself. Please find the Zoom link on the OUUC website. Please join Sarah Lewis, Director of Community and Faith Development, next Sunday, October 17th at 11:30 for a Q&A session about member engagement. Sarah wants to hear from us all about how we can be a healthy and vibrant community that welcomes and engages folks both before and after they become members. Please attend to share your experiences, your hopes, and your suggestions in this somewhat reversed Q&A, in which Sarah will be asking us the questions towards envisioning a new member engagement effort. Are you curious about becoming a member of OUUC? Please join Reverend Mary and Sarah Lewis for a new member class on Saturday, October 23rd. Contact Sarah for more information. Finally, be sure to stay after the service today as we resume Melanie Ransom's talk show. Today's guest is Liz Clement. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community, so check the website regularly. If you have questions or need help, please check in with a staff member. Now let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Let us light our chalices together with these words by Amy Carol Webb, Sacred Unknowing. We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing. Humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time, we come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing that we can ever know. That love is, now and forever, the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. The service today is a little bit different because I've asked you to share in crafting it by sending in your theological questions. Some of you did, and those questions are just great. Thank you. I also want to invite you to share your questions now by putting them in the chat, either on Zoom or YouTube. Sarah Lewis and Ann Colbury are ready to collect them and have them ready for later in the service. I know I won't be able to address all of them today, but I will read them all and keep them in mind for future services. And if you want to remain anonymous in asking your question, please private message Sarah or Ann, or send me an email and I'll keep them in mind for the future. Thank you for crafting this service together. Today's opening words are offered by Sharon Wiley, titled, "You Are Never Alone." It is okay to be tired of change. It is okay to be tired of everything different. Okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth. And okay to yearn simply for rest. It's okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied and all the ordinary human ways of being that we are. Let this morning be a reminder that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together again. Hymn number 131 is our opening song, Love Will Guide Us, and you can also find the lyrics posted in the chat. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night, and if you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep inside you. You can change the world with your love, and love will guide us. Peace has tried us, hope inside us, we'll lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Thank you for singing.
Good morning. The story that I have for you today is called Answer Mountain, and it's by Sarah E. Squire. Long ago and far away, or maybe it was just last week and just around the corner, there was a little town that lay snug and content in the shadow of a big mountain. And on the mountain, carved in big letters so everyone could see, were these words: "The answer is no." Now, no one knew who or how or why those words had been put on the mountain, but for the people in that town, oh, it was a relief. They always had an answer. Anytime they had a question, all they had to do was just look up at the mountain, and there was the answer. Until one day, Ma Custis was having trouble deciding, because sometimes it's hard, what to make for dinner. Why, should it be beans or broccoli? Steak or salad? So she went outside and looked up at the mountain and said, "Should I make liver for dinner tonight?" And there was the answer. The answer is no. Well, that was no big surprise. Nobody likes liver. But then she asked, well, should I make tacos? No. Should I make tofu? No. Should I make sauerkraut? No. Everything she asked, the answer was no, until she gave up in frustration since she couldn't get an answer that was any kind of answer. And so her whole family just went hungry that night with no dinner. And the next day, because it was the first thing she had thought of, she made the liver, and nobody liked it. But after that, she had had enough. She figured the mountain just wasn't working for them the way it used to. So she went into the center of town and rang the bell that called a town meeting. And when they heard that bell, everyone came running, from the oldest man with the longest beard to the tiniest baby that still needed to be carried. They all came. And Ma Custis explained the problem. "The mountain just isn't working for us anymore," she said. "Why, I asked it what to make for dinner, and it wouldn't give me any help. And I bet some of you have had this problem too. It seems to me that it just says no. It would be nice if it said yes every now and then. I think it's time for a change." Everyone could see that she had a point, but it also made them nervous to think about changing something that had been the same for so long. But after a lot of thinking and a lot of talking, they agreed, yes, the mountain should be recarved. And the stone carver, Mason Sharp, having listened to all of this, stepped forward and said, yeah, I could do it if you want. It'll take me a little while, but I'll work at it and I'll get it done. And so they all agreed. And 2 weeks went by while Mason Sharp went up every day and chipped and chiseled and chipped and chiseled and worked away. And when he was finally done, he came back down and rang the bell again for another town meeting. And everyone came running to see it and to see the good work that Mason Sharp had done. They looked up, and now the mountain said, the answer is yes. Well, Ma Custis pushed her way to the front. She figured since she had seen the problem with the original mountain, she should be the first to ask a question of this new and improved mountain. And so she looked up at the mountain and she said, should I make liver for dinner tonight? The answer is yes, the mountain replied. Ma Custis was just about bowled over. What? Why, my sister said she'd never forgive me if I made liver again, and the kids all threatened to hide in the barn for a week. Are you really telling me to make liver? The answer is yes, the mountain replied. But I promised them that I wouldn't make liver again. Are you telling me to break a promise? The answer is yes, the mountain replied. At that, everyone broke out in conversation. It was clear that this wasn't any better. Why, this wasn't going to help them at all. What were they going to do? And they all talked at the same time until one small voice was heard over the others. One of the smallest Custis children said, does it have to be only one answer? Couldn't it say a few answers? And they all thought, whoa, what an idea. And after a lot of talk and debate and some wordsmithing, the town came up with this. They all agreed that what the mountain should say is, the answer is sometimes no, sometimes yes, sometimes maybe, sometimes wait and see, and sometimes I don't know. Now, Mason Sharp had been listening to all of this, and he stepped forward at this point and said, okay, I can do that, and I don't mind, not really, even though I did just do the other change. But that is going to take a really long time to carve, and I can't work day and night like I just did. So how about this? I'll work on it as I have time, and in the meantime, we'll put a sign in front of the mountain that says the answer is coming. Everybody thought, okay, that's pretty reasonable. And for a while, Mason Sharp did go up every day and carve a little bit, and all the townspeople waited and looked every day to see if the answer was there yet. But over time, he got tired of going every day, and he went less often, and the townspeople got tired of waiting. And the funny thing is, they all started asking each other questions and giving each other answers. And they realized that sometimes a question has more than one answer, and some questions don't have answers, and it was all okay. And after time, they all sort of felt like what the mountain said now was the best answer it could give. And so they just left it that way. And it said, the answer is under construction. Thus ends our story.
The stewardship team has a message for us today.
Back in 1990, the late part of 1990, early part of 1991, I decided that I needed a community. And I thought, well, okay, here in Olympia, how do you get community, like instantly? Well, you go to a church. But like a lot of Unitarians, and I'm a recovering Catholic, I wasn't about to go back into Christian churches with what I perceived anyway as all of the rules, regulations, and don'ts and do nots. But then I did know a little bit about Unitarians. I didn't know that they were hooked up with Universalists. So I looked up where the UU Church was at the time, and it was at the what we now call the Little Church on 2nd Street. Well, I was living probably a mile away. So I looked at when the service was, and 4 in the afternoon, okay. So I bicycled down there, and Sandra Lee was the minister, and she gave this sermon on Thoreau and good and evil, and it was very learned. I thought, oh, this is like a college lecture. I could do this. Turned out I did, and I knew, quite accidentally, I knew a couple of people there, and they were so welcoming. Everybody just almost ran up and tackled me, you know, and we went in and had a cup of coffee. And really, it's been my community ever since.
Well, after I graduated from seminary from Starr King School for the Ministry in Berkeley, California, and I got a job in Providence here in Olympia. Moved into a house and started coming to the Sunday services here at OUUC, and really enjoyed the services and the people. And Arthur Vaney was a kind man to take me under his wing and show me some of the ins and outs of being a minister.
I think the first experience for us was we had really little kids, so it was a connection with the RE program. I would say that in terms of the full family connection, but on a more personal basis, I was really taken with the service. The services for me were always so captivating and provided an opportunity for reflection that just weren't available in other parts of my life, and they were so valuable and worthwhile for me.
Well, participation in the congregation, it's really become my community, as I said a little earlier, and it feels, I don't know, warm and fuzzy. I mean, it feels like I'm doing a good thing to participate in the congregation, whether it is on some kind of a social justice activity or government or whatever it might be.
I feel that OUUC is truly one of the only places that I interact where everyone is welcome. And I think we all have biases. We all have areas where we're uncomfortable. I feel that here we have made each other and all of us collectively accountable to stretch our own comfort zone and really set the bar that we walk that talk, and we do create an environment where everyone is welcome.
Thank you to all of the speakers and the stewardship team for that message today. We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to listen deeply and hold all that we bring here with us. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid, and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, our own and others. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the OUUC website on the worship page, or send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. You will hear a drum beat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, let's just take a breath together, in and out, as we open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community today. Tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, still known as Columbus Day in some places. May we take a moment to acknowledge the damage done to Indigenous people by the false belief that this land was empty and found by Europeans. And the next day, take a moment to reflect on how we still live with the effects of colonization and what we are called to do in response. Tomorrow is also National Coming Out Day. May we open our hearts to all who take the courageous action to share their true selves with us and with the world. I invite you now to share from your heart by entering in the chat. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. As we take in what is posted, let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to those who share. Now place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart, a stone holding the complexity of our lives, held in the water of our community. And I'll place one more stone in the water for all that has been shared, for all that we hold in our hearts, and that has not been shared, that remains unspoken. I invite you now into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation. Infinite web of life, spirit of love, great mystery of all. We gather here on another Sunday morning, gathering in community, bringing the stories of our lives. Thank you for this day and for this time together. We hold all who we are. May we hold all who are in pain on this day, suffering in body, mind, and spirit. May they find comfort and peace. We hold in care all who are questioning, wondering, doubting on this day. May we relish the questions and the journey of seeking. We hold all who are getting by on this day. May there be enough. There is enough. And may we know that we are enough. We hold in care all who celebrate on this day. May we relish the joy and the laughter. In this moment of silence, we listen deeply for the voice within us that calls us to be our best selves, that we may be a blessing to the world. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
No one here to guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one acts alone. You are not alone.
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected here does two things. It supports the ongoing work of OUUC and to something greater than ourselves. It supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. This offering also supports an organization that serves our greater community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Johnson, and I'm Executive Director for Rebuilding Together, Thurston County. Our mission is to repair homes, revitalize communities, and rebuild lives for low-income homeowners in our community who need help with everything from ADA modifications to replacing and repairing hot water tanks, building wheelchair ramps, basic needs that they have in their home that they can't afford to do themselves. Most of our homeowners live on $1,150 a month, and many of them live in mobile home parks where their rent is $650 a month. So you can see it leaves them just $500 a month to cover basic expenses. And if something major breaks, then they need us, and we need you. So thank you so much for inviting us here today. Thank you so much for supporting us, the congregation's monetary support, as well as any volunteer help that you would like to give the organization would certainly be welcomed. Since our founding in 2003, we've helped over 700 people in Thurston County continue to live in their home. We prevent them from becoming homeless, and they can live in dignity in their own home, in their neighborhood, with their friends, doctors, and their pets around them. So thank you so much for supporting us. We really, really appreciate it.
You can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You could also mail a check to OUUC. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and its mission. Without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and serve as a beacon in a world threatened by division and fear. Our community partners need our financial support. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes, holding to their own, thinking they're alone. So honor their mistakes. Everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right, giants can be good. You decide what's right. You decide what's good. Someone is on your side, and someone else is not. While you're seeing your side, maybe you forgot they are not alone. No one acts alone. You are not alone.
Thank you for your generous gifts. Today's reading is Here We Are by John Corrado. Here we are, children at the big party, having our moment in the sun, our piece of the action, till our bodies give way and we are called home. We're one big, not always happy family, given life and breath by an eternal parent we dearly long to know. Now we have our one shot at it, our one time to be a conscious part of this ongoing cavalcade. It's not a free and easy trip. We have to live with pain as well as pleasure, temptation as well as promise, loneliness as well as love, fear as well as hope. We have to live inside a coat of skin, wrapped up in drives difficult to control and dreams difficult to achieve. And though we are the guests of honor, we don't get to set the time of the party or its place, nor are we consulted about the guest list. This is our time, and there really is just one question. What are we going to do with it? This ends our reading.
Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will come out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. Someone is on your side. Careful. No one is alone, believe me. No one acts alone. You are not alone.
Thank you, Troy. One of the things I love about Unitarian Universalism as a liberal religion is that we don't believe that the answers are set in stone or carved in a mountain, but they are living and changing. We are seekers who honor the questions and know that both the questions and the answers will change over time. We are a creedless tradition, which means that we do not tell people what to believe. We say that everyone has the right to decide their own beliefs, and we accompany each other on our journey to find truth and meaning, knowing that there are multiple truths. We ask questions, we reflect, we discuss, we act, and we decide for ourselves. And I think that's one of the reasons that we seek out each other and create religious community. We like to have companionship and help in asking and living the questions, support as we face uncertainty, and companions on the journey. So for today's service, I asked you to share your big questions with the intention of addressing some of them today and bringing others into future services. Some of you sent me questions directly, and some of you put them in the chat today. Thank you so much. Of course, what I'm offering today is only my take on these questions. Another aspect of liberal religion is that we don't require a mediating presence of a religious leader in order to have access to the holy. This is reflected in our first source, our first of 6 sources, the direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. We open ourselves directly to the sacred by asking questions and seeking answers. So in other words, take what I say under consideration. I have no expectation that you would answer these questions in the same way. And so we begin with a few questions that were sent in these past weeks. The first one was, I'd be interested in hearing your take on what UUs mean when they say worship. That's a great question, and it's a word that I use a lot and that many people struggle with. It's one of those sacred terms. Sacred is another word that folks sometimes struggle with. So we have worship service, worship arts, the worship arts team, worship planning. Very simply, the ancient English root of the word worship can be interpreted as and translated as considering things of worth. So when we gather together in worship, we hold up the things that are of ultimate worth, that have meaning and value in our lives. Worship doesn't require a deity or an entity or an idol to worship. It's together recognizing, honoring, bringing into our awareness what has meaning and value in our lives. A few weeks ago, I spent a couple of study leave days reviewing the services in the time that I've been here for these past couple of years. I wanted to get an overview of our time together and the various themes that have come into being, because it's been a little bit of a time in our time together, maybe not what we had expected. And based on that review, I would say that these are some themes that we hold up as of value and worth in our lives. Community, connection and interdependence, justice, facing the reality of what is, honoring transitions, and love. It's always love. So we gather on Sunday morning rather than another time of the week in a long tradition that comes from the Catholic and Protestant churches. And we see worship as an opportunity for connection within ourselves and beyond ourselves, and offering, inviting the possibility of transformation. In worship, we can ask big questions and reflect on what they mean to us, and we have the support of each other in doing that. We also, in worship, offer opportunities for ritual and rites of passage, crossing thresholds, like the coming of age recognition or a bridging service. We do a new member welcome. We honor the work of volunteers like the board and the pastoral care team. We light candles for those who have passed, for those who have died. And so worship is a place that we come together to honor the transitions in our lives and in others' lives, and reflect on what that has, what meaning that has in our own lives. The other thing I would say is that worship is one of the requirements for being a UU congregation. In order for a Unitarian Universalist congregation to be a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, our congregation is required to do three things. In the last year, they have to have held at least one business meeting of their members. They have to have elected their own officers, and they have to maintain an adequate record of membership. And they have to make a financial contribution to the association, and they have to conduct regular religious services. So worship, religious services are something that define us as a congregation. So this is the summary I would give of worship, what we try to create in these times together on Sunday morning. We set aside time out of our week to step outside of our usual routine. We connect to the voice within us and to something greater, whatever it is that you call that something greater. We invite the opportunity for transformation. We reflect on how to live our Unitarian Universalist values in the world. We honor the transitions in our lives. And we tell the story of who we are and why we are, and then we bring our story into the world. The second question someone sent in is this: what does it mean to be evil in Unitarian Universalism? Can UUs find common ground to define evil, and what are the theological roots of the UU response to evil? That's a really big question. So briefly, this is what I would say about evil in Unitarian Universalism. So just a definition of evil: it's something that is profoundly immoral. People might use the word wicked. And one of the parts of the definition suggests that there is a supernatural force, something like the embodiment of evil in the character of the devil that we might see in some religious traditions. I would suggest that immoral is probably the word that's more unifying for Unitarian Universalists, and that evil is something that is against our core values, our individual values, our society values, and our shared values as Unitarian Universalists. So what those values are always open for discussion and reflection and discernment, both at an individual level and at a community level, because we're a living tradition. Many UUs deny the existence of a supernatural, doesn't fit for them in their theology, and for others they're agnostic. It's just not an issue for consideration. What our UU tradition says is that we're concerned about the world now, not the world of heaven or hell or a world outside of this one, but this material world. And so we don't tend to focus on the supernatural or any sources of evil that are outside of this world. But we do focus on the evil that resides within us and that we create by our actions. Now, I've said that we each have the capacity for evil within us. It's part of being human and part of being of this world. But how we act is up to us. So we have a Unitarian focus on the rational and real in this world, and a Universalist focus on everyone's worth. I've suggested before, and I believe, that evil is actions that disregard, damage, deny, or destroy the inherent worth of all living beings, and actions that deny or destroy our interdependence. Actions like denying climate change, passing laws that support racism, like the voter suppression laws, or the internment of immigrants in inhumane detention centers. Those, in my mind, are evil. Actions that are not motivated by interdependence and love. And as for common ground with UUs, that's always a challenge. And what I experience is that we have shared values and principles. We may not have shared beliefs, but we have shared values and principles. And those are the things that can unite us. And then the last question that was sent in was, how do you forgive and move forward with someone, or just move forward with peace when there's no apology or acknowledgement of hurt? There's no acknowledgement of hurt and its harm, and how do you do that in ways that honor and strengthen both the self and other? And that's just a huge question. Forgiveness is something that's addressed in many faith traditions. It's addressed in the Jewish and Christian Bibles. For those of us who were raised in a Christian setting, you remember the Lord's Prayer: forgive us our transgressions as those who transgress against us. The Jewish community celebrates Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which is about forgiveness and atonement. So I would suggest that forgiveness is about taking a larger view and letting go. Forgiveness is all about letting go. It's about seeing a bigger picture and maybe seeing that the person who has done us wrong has been victimized in some way, or seeing that the wrong that has been done is supported by a larger culture that might say that that really is right. It also means stepping back to notice what we might be holding on to. What is it about what's happened that has us hooked, that we can't let go of or don't want to let go of? Is there something that helps define our identity that makes the forgiveness difficult? What are we longing for? So forgiveness is a spiritual practice like many other spiritual practices, like hope. It's a spiritual practice because we draw on our deepest values and beliefs in order to support the challenge of letting go. And practice is hard because we do it over and over and over again. I know from my own experience of hard events is that they come up again and again, and there's layers of forgiveness, like layers of an onion that we peel back over and over again, and that's the practice. And so that is what ritual is for, I think. It's to help us with those transitions, with the letting go. And those might even happen in a worship service where there might be ritual to help us let go of what it is that is hooking us, that we need to let go and want to let go of us. So I do want to make sure we have a couple of questions that folks sent in today. Sarah and Anne, is there a question that we might be able to have?
Yes, here's one. Why do bad things happen to good people?
So, there's books written about that. And, there's a couple things I would say about that. One is that many of us don't believe in a God that is all controlling and that, makes everything happen. And there certainly are theologians who suggest that, everything happens for a reason, isn't comforting or necessarily helpful for folks. And so for me, one of the things that's helpful in addressing that bad things do happen to good people is to face the reality of that and to just examine the belief that because we're good people, nothing bad should ever happen to us in this world. It's separating who we are as individuals from what happens to us in our lives. And underlying that question sometimes is a belief that if bad things happen to us, that must make us bad people. And we don't have to take on that just because bad things might happen, that we're not bad people. And I would draw on our universalist ancestors to help us remember that we are worthy, even when bad things happen to us as individuals, to us as a community, to us in the world, and really draw a distinction between who we are in our core and what is it that happens in the world. Sarah, is there another one?
Anne's going to give it to you.
Okay.
Thanks, Anne.
Why do we call OUUC a religion?
Thanks for that question. I would say OUUC isn't a religion. OUUC is a congregation. And this congregation of Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation is a part of a larger denomination of Unitarian Universalism. And it would be the Unitarian Universalism that some would call a religion. So that would go back to, how do we define a religion? And I would, many folks would say, well, a religion is a set of beliefs that everybody buys into. But that's not us. We don't have a creed. We don't have a set of beliefs that everyone has to have. And so I would say that a religion, I would broaden that definition and say that a religion or a faith tradition is one where people come together for spiritual grounding, spiritual exploration, and for living their deepest values in the world. And that's what makes us a religion or a faith community or a spiritual community or whatever it is that you want to name it. And that's a good question, because I think in part that's why folks struggle sometimes with Unitarian Universalist congregations when they show up and say, so, what do you believe here? What am I supposed to believe? Do I fit here? We're not like other faith communities. It's something that makes us a bit different. And so we might be an outlier, and I do believe it keeps us within the spiritual community. How about one more, and then we'll have that be the last one.
All right, this will be the last one. What is the relationship between morals, spirituality, and politics?
Oh my goodness. Morals, spirituality, and politics. Well, I would say morals are our deepest values, our core, deepest held values. Our spirituality is how we connect to something greater than us. And our politics is how we behave in the world. And so I see a connection between our deepest core values, our connection to something greater, and how we behave in the world. Those three things are interconnected and they inform each other. So I want to make sure we have time for chat and for the interview later. I just want to note that someone put in the chat, what's the meaning of life? And I just want to suggest that as long as we're alive, that is an answer that is under construction. So thank you all for your engagement with the big questions and for seeking answers. And thank you for creating and supporting a community where we ask those big questions together. I want to close with a meditation that's adapted from the words of Linda Hansen. Much of our human struggle is with what we do not know or understand. It is often difficult not to want answers, and even more difficult not to think that we have them already. May we experience what we do not know, not as an individual failure, but as an invitation to community. May we seek not the true answers so much as the true questions, knowing that true questions make our lives meaningful, even if it's sometimes a restless journey. And may we be grateful for the restless voices in our communities. I hope that you have time to listen to the restless voice within you today. And let's just take just a moment of quiet to notice that voice within us. And as we go through this day and our week, may we be good company to one another in our questions and on our journey as we seek to answer the call of love. So may it be.
Let's sing together hymn number 1014, Answering the Call of Love. The lyrics can be found in the chat. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts become one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts become one, emboldened by faith we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. singing.
Let's extinguish our chalices together with these words from Ma Teresa Castillo Gallardo. Some came here to be blessed with answers in a tumultuous world. Let us hope too, however, that many of us have been blessed with questions to direct us with a clarity of mind, to steer our logic toward kindness and justice always. May we move in peace.
Let's sing together our unison benediction. We are part of the web of life. We are part of the web of love. May our words, may our deeds pull the strands of the infinite web toward health, toward justice, toward love.